Hey everybody, and on today's vlog, we are going to be discussing Fairy Season by Good Games Publishing.
It's fairy season. The goblin chiefs order their flunkies into the forest to catch fairies across the 4 seasons and shake out their fairy dust to make a wicked winter brew. Herd fairies into swarms and use goblins to trick and trap them. Lure in the mighty royal fairies to free their flighty fairy friends and then catch them too. The chief who catches the most fairies wins the game.
Hey Sarah, how's it going?
Hi there.
So what are we discussing today on our vlog?
Today we're discussing Fairy Season, which is a 3 to 5 player game from Good Games Publishing. They sent us this copy. Thank you for doing that. So Fairy Season is a trick-taking and ladder climbing card game. So if you've never played a trick-taking and or ladder climbing card game, pretty simple premise. What happens is in turn order, each player plays a card to the trick. And basically you're trying to play the highest card to win the trick. So that's basic trick taking. Ladder climbing means that you are ascending in value somehow. So if you start with a 2, then usually players can play another 2 or they have to play something higher, right? So if you get to a 7, like players could play a 7 or anything higher, but not anything lower. So that's the basic sort of mechanics behind Fairy Season. There are also some special cards in this one and some sort of unique ideas to gameplay. Because it is a 3 to 5 player game, we did play this one with my parents. They do not want to be included in this video though. So we're just gonna sort of talk about it on the video, but we're not actually gonna vlog it like we normally would, just because some of the players we played with didn't want to be in the video. So let's talk a little bit about some of the cards that you'll see in Fairy Season. So a lot of the cards in Fairy Season are these seasonal fairies, and I've pulled out a couple for each season. There are 4 seasons, just like there are in a regular calendar year. We start with spring, then we move into summer, autumn, and then with winter being the final season. Like I said, this is a ladder climbing game, and it has the unique mechanic that in addition to ladder climbing, we also have sort of like the seasonal flow to the year that we have to follow. So if, for example, one player played this one spring card, then any other player could, the next player would get to play another spring card with a 1 value, or anything higher than that that is hopefully springtime, but might be one of the other seasons as well. The order of the numbers matters. You always have to meet or exceed the value of the current card, and you have to play in season order. So if I didn't have any spring cards, but I had a summer card, I could play the summer card. But if we were already in autumn and I didn't have an autumn or a winter card, I could not play a spring or summer card. So in addition to always going up the ladder, you also have to follow the seasonal pattern here as well. So what happens is on a player's turn, they play a card to the trick, and then they do what the card says. So each season has a ability that each of the card does. For example, in spring, when you play a card, you draw 2 cards. In summer, when you play a card, you draw 1 card. In autumn, you draw a card and then you stash a card. Each player has a stash, which is like an area in front of them where they get to take a card. When you stash, you get to take a card and put it into your stash. At the end of the game, fairies in your stash are worth points. And then finally, in winter, you can stash a card. If we get to a point where no player can play a card, either because they don't have a card for that season that continues to move up the ladder, or because they don't have a card for a future season, so they could change the seasons. For whatever reason, if we get to a point where a player cannot play a card, they have to, there's a particular word they use for it. What is it called?
Is it flunk?
Flunk, that's right. They have to flunk. And when a player flunks, essentially they're saying, I can't play anything useful. We're gonna like skip over that player for this round. And then every other player is gonna have a chance to try to take that trick. But if a player flunks out, then they're basically saying like, I'm out, I don't have any other cards I can play that would be useful. Now, in addition to the season cards that we have here, all the different sort of minor fairies, we also have, sorry, he should have been over here. We also have 4 royal fairies. We have a king, queen, prince, and princess. Now, these royal fairies can help players to win a trick if a player has flunked. They can be captured, though, as well. And when these fairies are in a player's stash, they're worth 2 points instead of 1.
Ooh.
So normal fairies are worth 1 point. Royal fairies are worth 2 points when in your stash. There are also some goblins. Now, the goblins are going to allow us to do certain things when played. So, for example, the greedy goblin says, stash the 3 cards from under the greedy goblin. So if, for example, let's just pretend one player had played this card and drawn 2 cards, then the next player had played this card, they draw 2 cards as well. The next player plays this card, they draw a card, and then let's say that it's my turn, and I'm going to play this greedy goblin. I'm going to play him like this so that you can see what was underneath him. But because he says that I get to stash the 3 cards from underneath this goblin, I'm going to take all of these cards right here and put them in my stash. And those are going to be worth points for me at the end of the game. So the goblins let you do all kinds of sneaky, crazy, trickery things. And they have a bunch of different effects on the game. Then, finally, the last kind of card that we might see in the game are these trap cards. Now, when we have a stack, let's make some kind of an example. Let's see, we'll do this, and then we'll say that this player played this here. Okay, so let's pretend that it is currently a player's turn and they decide, okay, they don't have any more summer cards, they're going to go ahead and move us into fall. So they play a fall card, and then the next player plays a trap card. This trap is going to trap all of the fairies in this stack here. And unless another player can stop it, the player who played this trap is going to get to keep all these cards and put them into their stash. The trap and any goblins trapped are not worth any points at the end of the game, but every fairy that was trapped is going to be worth 1 point at the end of the game, and any royal fairy that has been captured is going to be worth 2 points at the end of the game. Now, you can negate traps if you have one of the royal fairies, so the royal fairies can sort of come and spring the trap and release their fairies, but when that happens, essentially we are opening it up for play to continue, and then if players are able, they can again trap the fairies, and if you're able to trap one of the royal fairies, then you're going to get extra points. So the game is played until we draw the last card in this deck, and then that round ends. So when one player is able to capture this, or if for whatever reason this is ended in some other way, then we will finish the game. We'll add up all of our points. Like I said, the points are just going to come only from your stash cards. So whatever you haven't been able to get into your stash is not going to count. But for every fairy in your stash, you're going to get a point. For every royal fairy, you're going to get 2 points. Anything else isn't worth any points. Whoever has the most points wins.
Awesome.
So we played, like I said, we played this game with my parents, and my mother crushed us.
She had like half the cards, probably more. It was we could already tell before the game was even over. We're like, oh, this is not going to be pretty.
She and I don't even think that she didn't seem to be like paying a lot of attention. She was just kind of like, whatever. Like this seems to be like a good thing to do, and then she was just like absolutely crushing us. So I think that it was fun. It was a little frustrating to learn for me because I feel like it's a pretty simple game. But for whatever reason, the rule book is laid out in such a way that I felt like I had to keep flipping back and forth between different sections to understand certain things. I feel like it would have been nice if there was just like a sort of a flow chart of like this beats this, and then this beats this and this and this kind of thing. If there was like some kind of master chart that sort of told you like what the hierarchy of each card was, that would be nice. So I think it's a pretty simple game, but because of the way the rulebook was laid out, learning it was a little frustrating for me. My family liked it, and I think that they would probably be willing to play again at least once more. Maybe not after that. I don't know, but at least once more, I think we could get them to play with us. My dad and I were discussing the one thing that we didn't care for in the game was that with the trick taking and the ladder climbing, it felt like there should be a flow established, so that each player was just sort of playing cards and, the game sort of flowed. But because of the goblins and the traps, we frequently found ourselves at a point where the game would just sort of stop or slow way down while we dealt with whatever had come up. And then the game would like start again, and we could never really establish like
it felt kind of jerky.
Yeah, there just wasn't a smooth flow in the game because of some of the special cards that you could play.
Like you guys said, you felt like there were like too many special cards.
Yeah, I think if there were fewer special cards, just in general, maybe not fewer types, just fewer in number. I think that might help to establish a smoother flow to the game. And that could be, I think that could be beneficial. Because in general, I think we did like it. But because it was just constantly like, stop the momentum and figure out, okay, who took this trick? You did. Okay, this is going to happen now. Oh, this goblin does this or that or the other. There was just never a smooth flow that really got established in the game. And it was one of our first games playing this game. Maybe if we really, 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 really knew what we were doing, we knew all the cards, we could just go, it would be a little better. But honestly, even then, I think just because of the number of specialty cards in the deck, I think that flow is just never going to feel smooth, unfortunately. I think the game got very unique artwork. Some of the fairies are really, really pretty, and some of the cards are they just look pretty cool. So I think it's good art. The theme it's kind of off-putting to me, honestly. The thing is that we're like these goblins and we're hunting the fairies. And to me, that I don't really like that. I feel like if fairies existed, they would be beautiful, delicate creatures that should be protected. And I understand this is a fantasy thing, but to me it just felt like I would never want to hunt a creature like this. And so the theme kind of bothered me a little bit. But it's well produced, it looks good. I think it definitely has just a tiny bit of an indie game look to it. There are just a couple areas where I think if they had applied just a little bit more polish, it wouldn't look like an indie game. But in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with looking like an indie game. So it's not really a problem. It's just not going to look quite as polished as one of the games from a larger publisher, I think. Did you have anything else to say, Nick?
Nothing really. Just the trick taking and the all the specialty cards just seemed kind of like hicked us up a little bit, and having to refer to the rules with some interactions that we were having. But I mean, it's really not that complicated. It's just we just kept hitting like bumps in the road, and it was just like, thud thud thud. It's like why is this happening? But at the same time, I mean, it was okay. It was just like a trick taking kind of game feel. But yeah, it was okay. All right. Well, we hope you all enjoyed our vlog discussion on Fairy Season by Good Games Publishing. Again, if you are one for trick taking and you like kind of the card
Or ladder
combos
climbing.
or ladder climbing, and you enjoy that, this is probably a game you should go check out.
That was actually one thing that I did like about the game, was I thought that the ladder climbing with the seasons element was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Because it meant that if we were just paying attention to the basic fairies, if we weren't adding the goblins or the royal fairies or the traps or anything like that, if you were just paying attention to the basic fairies, and you knew that you had the 4 seasons and you had I think it was numbers 1 through 8, and I believe they repeated twice each. So like every spring fairy, there were 2 copies of each spring fairy, right? So you knew that there were 2 1s, 2 2s, 2 3s, up to 8. And then knowing that like the higher the number in each season would be like the previously played card, but if you didn't have anything like that, you could skip to like the next season. I thought that was really interesting, and I thought for a ladder climbing game to have that sort of additional little element, it was very, very small, but to have that additional little element where you had I don't know, almost like suits in addition to the numerical value of the cards, I thought that was really interesting thing. I almost wish, I don't know, I almost wish that my cat wouldn't eat plastic.
No, Sam, no!
Anyway,
Anywho,
he's back there chewing on plastic wrap from
oh,
one of the
sweet
games.
plastic.
It's like heroin for him, and then he throws up later. Anyway, we're gonna move on.
Alright, well, we hope you all enjoyed the vlog. Sorry our cat kind of hijacked it a little bit at the end, but it is what it is. And we will get to you guys next time. Toodles!